Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of College Ball with Beans. Today we're going to talk about Florida State, a little more news coming out from the Big Ten, and some speculation from the SEC when it comes to the ACC imploding and where these teams might go. I'm still hearing Florida State is probably going to the SEC. The Big Ten is showing interest in Miami, North Carolina, Virginia, which means North Carolina not going to the Big 12. Sorry, Big 12 fans. North Carolina looks like they're going to the Big Ten along with Virginia. Clemson will also Clemson is going to the SEC with Florida State, and those are the only two teams out of the ACC that goes to the SEC. The ACC is going to implode. There will not be an ACC. It's going to be a lot like the Pac-12. It's not going to exist anymore. I think if Florida State leaves, it's all going to crumble because Virginia Tech and Pitt, they're going to the Big 12. Probably Louisville to the Big 12 as well. And then those other schools are going to be getting just to the American, essentially. I do have a hot take here. The Big Ten is going to try to poach an SEC school when the grant of rights runs out in the SEC. Now, I don't know how much of a hot take this is because I did see a video from on Big Ten that essentially said they think that A&M is a potentially could be an option for the Big Ten, and I saw that on a video on Locked On Big Ten Sports, and I think that's a possibility. Texas A&M, though a lot of people don't think this will make a lot of sense, they really just don't want to play the University of Texas. They don't want to be in the same conference. They just do not like the University of Texas. And they are potentially going to the Big Ten. Now, again, that's a hot take, folks. I don't think that they will be going to the Big Ten. I think they are going to stay in the SEC because, again, there's going to be a lot of great matchups in the SEC, especially with Florida State and Clemson coming in from the ACC. Think about it. You're going to have Florida State. That's going to be a conference game. Florida State, Georgia. Florida State, Alabama. All great games. And then you're going to have Clemson, Texas. Clemson, Oklahoma. Also great games. And also, that's also another reason why it makes more sense for Florida State to join the SEC versus joining the Big Ten. Because if it's a financial issue at all, you could look at it this way. Florida State will be playing Georgia in a conference game versus playing Penn State in a conference game or Michigan in a conference game. They'll be playing Mississippi State, Auburn, Alabama, Texas. Schools that are a lot closer to their campus as well. And something else that I think when it comes to the SEC, I mean, with Florida State and Clemson potentially coming in, what does Florida and South Carolina think about that? They're not going to be happy, but at the same time, they're not going to throw a fit. They're not going to try to block it because it's more money. That's going to add more revenue to the conference. I'm hearing the SEC right now would be content with only adding 2 more schools. So we'll see what happens there. I'm hearing the Big Ten want to go to 20, but they're willing to move past 20. And that's not including Notre Dame. That's 20, not including Notre Dame. So they could add Miami, North Carolina, and Virginia and still have room to make some moves. We'll see what happens there, but I also think as it pertains to Florida State, if they come into the SEC, they're ultimately in the driver's seat in the state of Florida when it comes to recruiting. Something else I wanted to talk about today, this leads right into that. Who's the big brother program in the state of Florida? Is it the Florida Gators? Is it the Florida State Seminoles? Or is it the Miami Hurricanes? Sorry, Miami fans. It's not Miami. But if you think about it, can you sit here and say it's the University of Florida hands down? I don't think you can. Florida's been playing football for over 100 years, folks, and they've only been relevant for about 20 of those years. They never won a conference title until the 90s in the SEC, and they've never had an undefeated season. University of Florida. Florida State's accomplished that a couple of times. I think if you're going to ask, who's the big brother program in that state? It's Florida State. So why wouldn't the SEC want Florida State? Why wouldn't they want to come in? And with that being said, I also think that, I said before, I think Billy Napier from the University of Florida probably get fired around Halloween. I've moved that timeline up a little bit. I think Billy Napier, if he loses to Mississippi State, because they open the year with Miami, if they lose to Miami and Texas A&M, they're looking at a 2-3 start, because they play two middle school teams essentially. They're looking at a 2-3 start, and if they lose to Mississippi State, that'd be 2-4. They're gonna cut bait. He almost lost his job at the end of this season. Billy Napier, if they start out 2-4 to start the year, and they lose to Miami, and wind up losing to Central Florida, he will be fired. Because there's no way they're beating Florida State next season. University of Florida has the chance to lose to all 3 Power 5 schools in the state of Florida, besides themselves, making 4 Power 5 schools in the state of Florida. Yeah, that's not looking good for old Billy Napier down there in Gainesville, Florida. I think he's going to be fired by midseason. I think the old Lane Kiffin from Ole Miss's head coach is going to be coaching Florida Gators after this season. But that's going to wrap it up on the realignment, kind of hot takes. I almost forgot. The Big Ten wants to move in this realignment. They are making it an essential must to move down the East Coast. There was some talk about them maybe adding some other teams in other areas of the country. They want to move down the eastern coastline, which makes sense with having Miami, North Carolina, and Virginia. That just adds one more piece to that puzzle. Thanks for watching, folks, and y'all have a good night, and as always, welcome.